Alright guys, so this is going to be a tutorial video on how to set up the Multiprotocol module to fly the Eachine Warbirds. These are the T28, the F4 Corsair, and the P51. Those are the three, and there's also a whole bunch of other ones that use the same protocol. It's all based off of the V761 protocol, and there's a documentation on the multi-module website that basically explains what all the channels do. I am only going to be using the gyro channel, which basically switches from beginner, intermediate, and expert mode. I am not going to be using any of the other functions like the one button acrobatics and all that stuff that you can do on the standard remote. You can program those, and you can do them in the similar way you can on the gyro channel, but I won't be setting it up in this video. If you want to set those up, it's fairly simple. You just follow the same instructions here for the gyro channel. It'll work pretty similarly. So the other planes that will work with the V761 protocol, I'll list all of those down in the description with links to where you can buy all those planes. There's too many here to list. There's at least the 3 from Eachine, plus there's a couple more from Volantex, and I'm sure there's a bunch more. I'll list those down in the description. You guys can check those out. And I believe channel orders and all that should work the same way for all those models, because they all use the same receiver and gyro. So these instructions should work for the other models as well. So just for reference here, I have a T12 Pro, which has the internal multi-protocol module. If you have an external multi-protocol module, then you're going to be using the external module in the setup here instead of the internal, so be aware of that. Also, if you're using a different radio, it probably doesn't matter too much because it's all based off of OpenTX. Now, this is not an OpenTX tutorial because OpenTX is very, very broad, and so there's a whole bunch of other videos on how to set up OpenTX. If you don't know or can't follow along what I'm doing here in terms of the OpenTX setup, there are other videos that explain in more general terms what OpenTX is and how to get around OpenTX. I'm just going to go through the actual setup itself. If you search on YouTube and Google for other OpenTX tutorials, you should be able to figure this out eventually. Another thing to note is that my radio has a default channel order of AETR. If your radio has a different default order than these instructions, you're going to have to make adjustments for that. I'm not going to do a setup for every default order that's out there. I think there's 16 or more, 32, something like that. So you're not going to get a video like that. Just this is my radio. It's an AETR order, so be aware that your radio, if it's a different default order, you may have to make adjustments in the mixer, and I'll explain that a little bit later. Additionally, the firmware that's in the multi-protocol module is matching my radio's default channel order of AETR. So again, if you have a different channel order in your multi-protocol module as well, these instructions may not exactly match. You may need to make adjustments in the mixer. Okay, so go ahead and get started here. Let's go into the model setup, and we'll create a new model. And you're usually going to get this model setup wizard here, and I'm just going to select plane. And it's going to ask, okay, do you have an engine or throttle? And it'll default to channel 3, which is fine for me because my channel order is in AETR. But be aware that the channel order for the receiver that's inside the planes is actually RETA. So we're gonna make that adjustment here, and so throttle is still on channel 3, so we're going to be good with that. So I'm going to go ahead, hit the right arrow, and then we're going to go to the aileron channel. And in this case, aileron is actually going to be in channel 4, so it's RETA is the channel order. So we're going to let's see here. I think we have to go down to the select channel, and whoops, we go back down here. Then we have to select this, and then change this to channel 4. Hit enter, and only have one aileron channel. So go hit next. Flaps, no. Air brakes, no. Then you have the tail config, elevator, rudder. So the elevator is going to be on channel 2. I'm going to leave that alone. but we're going to change the rudder to channel 1 and hit enter. And this should be the channel order: throttle on channel 3, aileron on channel 4, rudder on channel 1, and then elevator on channel 2. And then we can hit long press the enter button to confirm. Now we have a model here, so go and enter the model, and let's just give this the name. Okay, so give it a name, and then we're going to go all the way down to the, in my case, I'm looking for the internal RF mode or internal RF module. If you have an external, you're gonna select external. I'm going to select internal, hit enter. I'm going to select the multi-protocol module, and then going to change the protocol. We're looking for V761. There it is. My firmware on my multi-protocol module is a little old. It's 1.3.0.76, but it still works. I think they put this V761 protocol in the multi-protocol modules a while back. There's actually probably more different protocols added since then, but for the purposes of this video, at least this version or anything newer will work for you. Okay, so then want to go down here to where it says bind, and then we're going to press enter here once the plane is powered on. All right, so then we'll hit bind. Okay, and now it looks like it's working. We have elevator, aileron, we have rudder. Rudder's working, throttle's working. But you can see that it's in beginner mode. The gyro is active. So I'm going to set that up here in the next part of the video. Alright, so we can exit out of here, and then I'm going to go from the setup page all the way over to the mixer. And here you can see that the channel order is now rudder, elevator, throttle, and aileron. Even though on the inputs, it's in my default channel order for the radio of aileron, elevator, throttle, rudder. So don't pay too much attention to this. I think that's why this is probably not going to matter, even if your radio is in a different order. You just have to pay attention to what's on the mixer page here. And it needs to be rudder, elevator, throttle, aileron. So set it up like this. And we're going to now set up the gyro channel. I'm going to put it on channel 5, or channel 5 is the gyro channel. We're going to go in here, and you can give it a name if you want. I'm just going to select the source, so hit enter. I'm going to put this on this switch here, on D. Hit enter, and that's all you got to do. You don't have to change any of the other settings here. Exit out of here. We can see that we have that set up here. And now you can see in beginner mode, with the switch up, intermediate mode, and then expert mode is all the way down. And now you can see no gyro stabilization in the expert mode, but you still have it in intermediate mode, as you can see there. So that's it. That's pretty much it. Now there's other channels, like for calibration, the trick button, all that stuff. You can set it up in the same way. Just put it, if you want to, you can put them on different switches. Some of them, I think the button has to be on a momentary switch, so you have to actually trigger it and then release it. This radio doesn't have a momentary switch, so it's one of the reasons I'm not going to be using it. Anyway, that's pretty much it for getting it set up on OpenTX and any OpenTX radio that has a multi-protocol module, either internal or external. Of course, that's a huge number of radios now, like the Jumper, Radio Master. You can have a Tyrannus with that various multi-protocol modules in the back. So that's why you're going to have to you may need to make some slight adjustments for your specific radio setup, but this should get you pretty much going and ought to work for you. Okay, so I'm going to be testing out the Corsair. This is the 4-channel, and this Volantic Super Cup 500, which you guys haven't seen on the channel yet. This is a 3-channel, but they just transferred the aileron channel to the rudder because this one doesn't have aileron. So we'll test with the Corsair first, and then we'll test the Super Cub. All right. Oh, it's really smooth on this controller. I feel like I have really good control. All right, nice and smooth. So let's just go right into expert mode. And I feel like I have a lot more control with this controller, but it's quite, I think it's a little tail heavy actually, now that the gyro is off. Go up a little higher. Let's do a rollover. Yep. It does drop a lot of altitude. Let's do a little bit of a loop there. This one seems to have a harder time doing a loop. I think it's because it is a bit tail heavy. So I'm going to go ahead and switch it back into the beginner mode. So you have more feel, stick feel, but I think the CG is going to be more important. I think I'm going to need a heavier battery than the stock one, or add a little more nose weight to fly this properly, because it's just kind of squirrely with being a little tail heavy. But with this in beginner mode, it's just like super smooth. It's even smoother than on a stock controller. Let's see here. Stick it into intermediate so I can take some tighter turns. Alright, so guys, I think you guys get the picture. Let's try the Super Cub. Actually, if I see if I can land it close to me here. Raining. It does have a nice glide slope. Oh, until it stalls. And there goes the prop. Okay, so start off in beginner mode again. So the reason you guys haven't seen this one is because I crashed it and the gearbox broke. So I kind of jerry-rigged something, but it has not a lot of power. So I don't think I'll be flying this for very long. I need to replace the motor, which has a gear on it that I lost. And you nose in, and sometimes those gears pop off. So you can see it hardly is able to climb. I'm at full throttle here. All right, so that's enough of that demo. You can see that it works, but I gotta replace the motor on that. I put like a piece of plastic in there to act as a gear, and it doesn't work so great. Anyway, that's it for this video. Talk to you guys later.